Jags Drive Time with Ashlyn Sullivan, John Oehser, and Brian Sexton. Jags Drive Time starts right now.
There's plays I wish I had back to help the offense. Like I missed that tackle down when we was backed up. You know, we could have had them, forced them punt the ball, get the ball back in midfield. So it's complementary football. I think when we, allow the team to drive a little bit with the offense not, punching in the red zone, we want to give as many chances to get back at it. So it's a team loss whenever you lose a team loss. I know I missed some tackles I'm really mad about, but, get back, focus on practice, get better. I think we're a talented team.
That's an unemotional middle linebacker, Foye Oluokun, yesterday in the locker room after the Jaguars' 13-6 loss to the Houston Texans. Good morning, everybody. I'm Brian Sexton along with John Oehser. Ashlyn Sullivan is on assignment. Okay, she's not. I just thought that sounded good. So let's bring in John. Hello, John.
Hello, Brian.
How are you this morning? You're sitting way over on the other side of the studio.
Yeah, I guess I'm supposed to be here.
You are.
We have a new alignment. No, not good. I mean, yesterday wasn't good, and observers and fans are angry and worried, and I think understandably so. I mean, we hyped this game and talked about this game, and the players talked about the game as a test, and they didn't pass it.
So, and I should apologize to you because last Wednesday, last Wednesday I said, John, relax. There's no way they lose this game. Talking to players, a couple of coaches, I asked them, does this team see the opportunity in front of it? They do. They're a team on the rise, and that still may be true. But we didn't see it yesterday. So here's the question I got from a lot of people walking out of the stadium. And I think 12, 14 hours removed from the loss, it bears revisiting. Are these the same old Jaguars? That looked yesterday like a very similar team that we've seen the last couple of years. But are they the same old Jaguars?
Well, I think there's a few ways to answer it. They are until they're not, because perception's reality,
sure.
In the sense that fans are going to feel how they feel. So I think from the fans' perspective, that is the storyline. Okay, well, we thought you were good. Now it's going to take you, one of the things I wrote last night was it's going to take some winning to get back to that good feeling we all had in September, because that was built on 2 good wins that you felt good about. Couldn't feel good about that. Are they in fact the same team? No, I don't think they are the same team in this sense. Their losses this season, which old Jaguars are we talking about?
Well,
are we talking about the Del Rio Jaguars that lost heartbreakers and felt like you should have been there? That felt like this a little bit. I wasn't here for that, but where you thought they were close and then they weren't. You thought they were close and then they weren't. So maybe that's what that felt like to people. It didn't feel like the last couple of years, because the last couple of years they're getting rolled in a game like that by 20 points.
Sure.
But it's not good enough to sit here and say, well, they're not number 32 anymore, so they're okay. That's not the standard they're looking for. The coaches aren't happy about that. So I don't think they are, because it feels like they've let 1-play, 2-play games slide past them. So in that sense, I think they can still make the argument we're close, we're doing things okay, but it's got to get over the top.
All right, let's jump into big things and get it started here on a Monday morning following the Jaguars' 13-7 loss. And we'll start with statement game. Hey, look, I was one of the people that was promoting this. It was an opportunity in the AFC South to go 2-0, which this franchise has never done in that division, and to beat an opponent that they hadn't beaten in 5 years. And they still haven't beaten them, so they missed the opportunity to make the statement. And the quarterback understood, though, that there's still another statement that he felt compelled to make in the locker room after the game.
Got a lot of room for improvement. Like I said, we've played some really good football this season. We've played some bad football too. So the only thing it says is we got to get better, and that's the message, whether we win or lose. But especially when you lose a game like this and you don't play well, especially offensively. So. We gotta, like I said, we gotta hold each other accountable, hold ourselves accountable, and we gotta get better. And we all just have to do our part. And like I said, our team does a good job of staying together. No one's gonna point fingers, but we do have to step up and make the plays that are there and really just be more consistent all the way around. So that's the message. Is just it's early. We have plenty of time, but we gotta make improvements.
Big thing, too, is Trevor's troubles. Now, we have 2 weeks in a row where the quarterback has turned the ball over, made iffy decisions, made one flat outright bad decision yesterday to throw the ball into the end zone. He's looked inconsistent despite the fact that he had good protection, and the running game was pretty good yesterday. The head coach, though, for all of the alarms that are sounded this morning, is not one of those folks jumping on that bandwagon.
I think that, we've got to, as a staff, we got to figure out a way to kind of get him settled into the game, number one. Trevor has to, obviously, make sure that he's in a good spot. And, the thing is, he sees everything, he sees the field well. We just got to continue to, we got to continue to keep throwing, and keep putting him in situations like that. He's going to get better. He will get better. I'm not worried about that at all. We have a lot of faith and trust in him, and he can definitely, do the job. We've seen it, this season. So we just got to keep working on it.
And big thing 3, what were they thinking? You have the last 2 first overall picks in the NFL draft on your squad, and Trevor's interception, and then Trayvon Walker's body slam of quarterback Davis Mills, the kinds of plays that you can't have. And those weren't the only 2 head-scratching decisions during the game, but those were 2 that stood out.
Those are unacceptable, plays that come up. And I keep telling the guys that, a game usually comes down to 3 to 5 plays, and you just never know which ones are going to be those plays. And, Trevor's interception late, that penalty, late in the game like that. I mean, those are hard to overcome, and just, again, they're all valuable lessons for us as a staff to teach and correct. A lot like the week before, Tyson, running into the kicker in Philly, and just those are all moments where, we can't take things, upon ourselves. We just got to go do our job.
And those are big things as the Jaguars lick their wounds today and start focusing on another division game next Sunday in Indianapolis. And John, it comes back to young players who you were counting on doing young player things that you thought they were beyond. Or I think it's accurate to say you hoped they were beyond.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we talked about Trayvon and Trevor walking down from Doug's press conference yesterday, or Trevor's press conference. And it's a tough thing for people to hear, and it's a tough thing for Doug Peterson to accept, or anybody to accept. And I would guess it's a tough thing for Trevor and Trayvon to realize. This team is so young. We made the point talking together, Brian. They don't really have their 5th and 6th and 7th year core guys that veteran, mature teams do. So you're depending on your first and second year, rookie and second year core guys to be your guys, and they're paid like it. It's their responsibility. I don't know that those 2 players make that awful mistake when they're mature players in their 5th year. So I think some of the Jaguars' woes are still caused by the fact that there are huge holes in this roster where you don't have 5th, 8-year core. You're young, and so you see things that you pull your hair out because you pull your hair out with young kids. That said, you don't want to analyze a game too easily and say, well, these 2 things cost them the game.
Right.
But yesterday, those 2 things cost them the game.
You can make the case that if Trevor scores the touchdown there,
yeah,
and Trayvon doesn't throw him down,
well, you're 13-6 with the Trevor touchdown,
right?
And the game tilts in your favor the rest of the way. And you're calling plays differently.
That's it.
And then the Trayvon. One thing, the defense played terrific yesterday, but my guess is I haven't talked to Mike Cole, I haven't talked to anybody on the defense about it. You've got them on their own goal line. I think it was 3rd and 5, and you let them run it out.
Foye missed the.
I think that's what Foye was talking about in his postgame. I'm sure.
Yep.
And he's right. That's an opportunity. Now you get possession back, and you go get a touchdown, and all of a sudden that interception is a blip because you still had tilted field position.
Right.
That was the moment, even beyond the touchdown they gave up, because they're gassed at that point. And I didn't think they played poorly on the series of the touchdown. They just gave them a first down. But you gave away that opportunity. But the Trayvon play, it's one that I'm sure is eating his gut out this morning because you just can't do it. I mean, you can't do it in high school.
Well, when he gets the fine envelope
Yeah.
from the league in his locker
Right.
tomorrow, it will eat even a little more, this time into his pocketbook. So he'll learn that lesson.
Yeah.
And I asked you off the top, are these the same old Jaguars? Well, the same old Jaguars don't hold their opponent to 13 points and 248 yards. They didn't play well enough to win on that side of the ball because they didn't make enough plays.
Right.
They had just that one sack. There were no takeaways. They missed key tackles in key moments.
I think the no takeaways was, it felt, looking back over the game this morning, by design, that the Texans were trying to shorten that game, not make mistakes. So I think that played into the no takeaways. They didn't want to give them any opportunities to be themselves, meaning the Texans didn't want the Jaguars to feel good defensively like that, so they took no chances.
And we have to touch on Trevor here before we go to our first break. And hey, look, I mean, I've never really expressed a lot of concern because he's young and because I still believe that this is a guy who can be your franchise quarterback. But when you see him throw that ball in the end zone, I mean, I was up in the West Club and I screamed, "Run the ball!" Right, which is not what I normally do, but it was so clear that that was the thing to do. You would expect him to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's what we talked about with young players, and we talk about with offensive linemen all the time. They play okay, and then there's the one play, and they get killed for it. Well, that's the NFL. So Trevor, I watched the game this morning trying to figure out he missed a few throws. Statistically, I can see why he said what he said after the game, where he zipped some balls in there. He had 7 or 8 really good throws, and where they're moving the ball, and you feel like, okay, here we go. Feet were set, great. Yeah. And even some of the ones that people were saying he missed, receivers didn't really go make plays for him either. So it wasn't all Trevor. But the NFL is about plays and moments.
Yeah.
And you can't make that play at that moment.
Say what you want about Davis Mills. He didn't make mistakes yesterday.
Right.
And you expect the quarterback taken number 1 overall to be the guy who doesn't make the mistakes. But that's not the way it's working right now.
Right. And even if you don't get the pick there and you kick a field goal, 9-6 in a game like that, I talked about a tilted field position and momentum. What I mean by that is you're calling plays different moving forward, and you're playing the clock different moving forward. Even if you're 9-6 and don't have the Trayvon play, make an argument at the bare minimum you're in a tie game at the end, you go down and kick a field goal. So those moments, you have to know how to manage situations as a quarterback. And in that situation, Trevor clearly didn't.
All right, big things out of the way. When we return, some highlights that explain the outcome of the game yesterday on Jaguars Drive Time.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
Your hometown gate now has more ways to save. Introducing My Gate Rewards, a new loyalty program with member-exclusive savings and fuel discounts. Earn points on in-store purchases, take advantage of special offers, and save on products you love. Score free coffee, fountain drinks, pizza, and soft serve with Gates Frequent Shopper Clubs. Then use your points on savings at the pump. Download the My Gate Rewards app in the App Store today or ask a store associate for more information. Go from good to Gate.
Hey Jags fans, Brian Sexton for Dreamfinders Homes. In a complex housing market, do decisions on the biggest purchase of your life stress you out? At Dreamfinders Homes, they can build the home of your dreams in one of their many communities in Northeast Florida. With a mortgage company in-house, they're here to assist you throughout the entire process. Choose from their wide range of single-family homes or townhomes from the 300,000s. Dreamfinders Homes specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. Call 904-590-2545 or visit dreamfindershomes.com. Call CarShield now. If your car's out of manufacturer's warranty, don't get stuck with expensive mechanical and computer screen repairs. Call CarShield today. Welcome back, Jags Drive Time. Brian Sexton along with John Oehser. Ashlyn Sullivan out today. She'll be back on Wednesday. 13-6 the outcome. The Jaguars fall to 2-3. Let's give you some highlights. Game was tied 6-6 at the half. Jaguars come out on fire. And the quarterback, as we expected, would roll right into it. Here's the first drive of the third quarter, and Trevor hits Evan Ingram.
Lawrence slinging it over the middle, complete.
Beautiful throw.
2nd and 11. Lawrence,
and here he is,
looking,
finding him again. Marvin Jones. Right? And then here's the play where it all breaks down, John. Just keep running, and you're probably at least inside the 3.
Picked off by Stingley.
So they start off on fire with 2 beautiful throws, and you're expecting that here is where the switch is flipped.
Yeah, and he made reference to it. It turned out once the play began that it was not a great play against that defense. And I didn't get the idea that he was criticizing the coaching on there. I just got the idea that sometimes when you call a play and it starts, it's against a defense that's ready for it, so there's nothing there. And his responsibility at that point is to make the right decision. This is what he said, to move on to the next play. And you had a chance to get a first down. It was an easy decision in retrospect. He's not sitting there going, boy, I wonder what I should have done. Yeah. I mean, it was just, I think he thought at that moment, he saw something very quickly, reacted to it, and you've just got to, at some point, the percentages have to be playing in your mind at that point, and you know automatically not to make it. You can't make the throw.
He talked in a couple of other situations yesterday in his postgame about trying to force things instead of take what they offered to create other opportunities.
And he did it on the deep ball. I thought he did the same thing where, I mean, it wasn't a tragedy. I throw a deep ball, it's incomplete, you come back. But in moments like that, in a game like that, every down counts and puts you in a 2nd and 10, which is trickier than a 2nd and 5. So it felt to me like the Texans were counting on, the way they played defense, they were counting on the Jaguars not being able to finish once they got to the red zone, and they were counting on Trevor not to be able to make the 25-yard field, not to be consistent enough to drive the length of the field and take advantage of the big plays that they got, and they were right.
Yeah, yesterday they were right. All right, so the game is still 6-6, and the Texans are near midfield, but they're facing 3rd down and 20. Here's another one of those game-changing plays.
Well, maybe just get into the range of Fairbairn, who's hit a couple of from 50. Mills is when whistled dead. And there's a late flag. Boy, the follow-through. Trayvon Walker wrapped up Mills, and maybe too much at the end of that play.
I didn't think the flag was late at all. I think the flag was right on time. Now, how do you do this? I mean, he is a 21-year-old kid. So as long as he's been playing football, quarterbacks have been protected.
Yeah. The only thing you think is, did he not realize for a moment he was offsides? But even if he had been, even if the play had been live, throwing the quarterback like that, we saw it with the Tampa game. They're protecting quarterbacks so much that I don't know that you can even live sack a quarterback like that at this point. So it was so out of character because it's not really. Trayvon's not really the in-your-face.
No, he's not at all.
And maybe that's not what that was. I don't want to put words. It was
frustration.
Yeah, and so it was just an incredibly bad-timed, bad play that they absolutely didn't need at that point. In the NFL, 3rd and 20, even dialing back to 3rd and 15. Your percentage of being off the field, especially against Davis Mills and the Texans offense, which is not a convert long yardage kind of offense, they had been running in that situation.
Keep your cool, they're punting, and you're giving the ball back to your offense.
With what, about 6 minutes to go?
Yeah.
So now you have a situation where you control it.
Get into your 4-minute offense and set up Riley Patterson for a game-winning field goal.
Even after that, I got a question last night. Somebody said, when are the Jaguars going to have a good defense? I was like, I don't know how much better they're supposed to play.
Right.
In the NFL, you give up 250 yards and 1 touchdown. I don't care who you're playing. That's fine.
You're supposed to win.
And especially 7 minutes to go to get a gut punch like that momentum switch and to still make it difficult for Dameon Pierce. I mean, you sometimes give credit where it's due. I didn't think the Jaguars defense played bad against Dameon Pierce. He's a young guy right now at the peak of his running back abilities. He's hard to bring down. That's how he plays. He was going to win some. I didn't think they played poorly on the final drive against him. He won that matchup. Occasionally that happens.
Right.
If that had happened when it was 27-6, nobody would have cared. No. But the one time it happened was when the game was on the line. But they didn't play poorly defensively.
Well, here you go. Here's the Dameon Pierce touchdown. The ball was put at the 38-yard line, 1st and 10 for the Texans after Trayvon Walker's errant play, and it set up this.
2nd and goal, Texans.
I'd run it again. You got overload to the right.
Pierce on the take, and he bangs it in. And the Houston Texans retake the lead here in Jacksonville.
So now it's 13-6, John. And the Jaguars are driving, and they get the ball to midfield. And they put themselves in a position from midfield to be able to do something about it. Here's one more look at Pierce. But you know what? We don't even need to show the rest of it. So
he scored.
Yeah. But let's just dump the rest of the highlights, because the point is the Jaguars had opportunities.
Yeah, and Trevor's getting a lot of heat in the mailbag, and I'm sure everywhere else. Hasn't finished a drive late in the game, hadn't brought them back. I want to pump the brakes on that a little bit. He hasn't. His situations so far this year have been down by touchdown. That's a lot trickier than bringing back from down by 3. Right. So, I don't necessarily think it's a huge worry that it hasn't happened yet, because that's a tough hurdle to get past for the young guy. What's concerning to me and what you want to see is they haven't really gotten into range to make a play at the end. I would have rather seen a couple of times where they're 1st and goal. I mean, 1st and 10 at the 15, he's driven them down, and then you take 4 shots, you're not getting there. He hasn't gotten them into situation yet. That needs to happen, and I think that's another thing that we need to watch for in the coming weeks. It's a developmental thing. It's important to realize you're only 5 games into the Doug Peterson era, so there's still rookie element there. People don't want to hear that, but that's reality. But I understand what we're seeing the last couple of weeks. This is the growing pain, and you've got to grow through it, and I understand the concern.
All right, those are the highlights, whether you wanted them or not. And when we come back, hot takes here on Jags Drive Time.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
Jags fans, this is Shaquille Griffin. I'm going to share some of my secrets for competing in the NFL. First, the field is no place for hunger. Growing up, I got big and strong eating boiled peanuts. Today, our team is serious about fueling our bodies, and that means popping open some protein-packed peanuts from Luray's Peanuts. It's the same boiled peanut flavor I used to love eating as a kid, but with superfood nutrition that lets me tear it up on the field. Pick Luray's boiled peanuts at all Jaguar home games, or pick up a few bags at the grocery store and fuel up at home.
At Five Star Credit Union, you inspire them to go the extra mile to meet your financial needs. That's why they offer Jaguars fans more banking options like better rates and no hidden fees. Their team is also dedicated to making the communities they serve stronger, volunteering their time and talents while donating millions to local nonprofits. Five Star Credit Union, FiveStarCU.org. Go Jags!
Well, Magellan Transport moves the freight, and they're voted coolest office space in Jacksonville. You can apply to join them online at www.magellanlogistics.com.
We just need to have more flow and punch the ball in when we need to. We can't go down to the red zone, and not take advantage of those opportunities, especially when our defense, held the game up pretty good for us.
It's Marvin Jones after the game, and there is a almost foreboding sense with this young team. in the red zone. Like, man, they cannot settle for a field goal here.
Right.
They need a touchdown, but it seems like a high hurdle for them right now to find success in the red zone.
Yeah, and they were 2 of 3 there, but the 2 were field goals. So he had 6 points in 3 red zone trips.
Right.
Again, you start doing the math. In a game like that, where it's tight down there, you get 2 touchdowns. Obviously, completely different game.
Sure.
I'm stating the obvious, but it's critical. And I do believe the Texans thought that was the way to play. Hey, they're going to get some plays. We're going to make sure they don't get huge plays. But if they get down inside the 30, we have a better chance than average of them not scoring. We're going to hold them to field goals, maybe 1 touchdown. And then they really shortened the game, the Texans, on the drive right after the interception. They only drove to midfield, but they took like 8 minutes to do it. And that really, I thought, compressed it. And now all of a sudden you've got a young team playing at home, knowing they're supposed to win. All of a sudden the fourth quarter felt so much different because it was all of a sudden upon you. That third quarter felt like it took 2 minutes. And I think that really played into the dynamic of the game of all of a sudden, I think it felt like the offense felt that a little bit of, okay, we got to do something and maybe press a touch.
You know, we were anxious to see how they would respond. And from the Philly game. And now they've got the Colts in a really important game for them if they have any hope of contending in the division. I shouldn't say it that dramatically, but this is a really important game for them to be able to keep pace with the Titans, who have now won 3 in a row, and to keep the advantage over the Colts. So do you expect them to come back from this gut punch? And how do you answer that question based on what we saw yesterday?
I don't know that I expect anything at this point. I'm not saying that I don't expect anything out of the team. I don't really know how they'll respond. Right. I think they're very capable of responding well. But it's tough because even they say, well, they beat the Colts 24-0 2 weeks ago, or whenever it was, 4 weeks ago. It's different on the road. Yeah. It's different when the Colts beat the Chiefs at home 2 weeks ago. So that sort of math doesn't work. I think it's tough, and it's we say it every week. The next game is the most important. All of a sudden, this is a whole lot trickier than anything they faced.
100%. So here's my hot take, and I wrote it last week in Final Analysis for you, John, and that is I will not use the word playoffs in this team again. I thought that this was a team.
But you just said playoffs.
Yeah, this is the last time.
This one really is.
I talking to coaches and players last week, I thought this was a team on the rise, that they knew it, that they were ready to go and beat a team that they should beat. Well, they're not there yet. They're clearly, they're not ready for that yet. And they will be as soon as the quarterback, not that it's all on him, but the quarterback is ready to play at that next level where you make those plays. And there's still growth and time in it. So maybe got ahead of myself. I look at the division. I don't think it's a really good division. I think the Jaguars have a very talented young roster, but that doesn't mean they're ready for it yet. So there won't be any talk of division title or any of that stuff, at least not for me. It's an important game for a young team to get over this game in Indy, and that's as far as I'll go.
Yeah, mine's probably more of a tepid take than hot because we talked about it already. This is a gut punch and it really hurts. It's kind of obvious. We talked about the whole show now, but boy, it hurt.
Yeah.
Because I think fans really thought after the Colts and Chargers that they were ready for more and that they would take care of business. And I thought the game would be close. I thought the game would be a 24-13 where it was 17-13 in the fourth quarter.
They pull away.
And they would have a drive where you said, okay, now we feel like we're going somewhere. Now we're ready. And I do think this game dictates how you felt about the last 3. Had they won, you would have felt like, hey, they're the Colts and Chargers, and they are almost better than the Eagles.
Right.
Now you feel like, frankly, I think a lot of fans feel like same old Jaguars. I got a lot of emails saying, well, the bottom 5 in the league again. I don't think that's what this is.
I don't either.
I think this was more a case of a desperate team in the Texans that was better than people thought. Jaguars played poorly and the Texans barely got them. That doesn't make you feel any better, but I think that's what you're looking at. But now, again, they have to go prove that. this morning, that gut punch really hurt.
If they had won yesterday, we would be talking about a showdown.
Gutty.
Yeah, but we'd be talking about a showdown in Indianapolis this week, right? And so, there's an old saying, water finds its own level. Well, this team's not ready for that kind of a game yet. They're not ready to be talking about division titles. They've still got to figure out how to play consistently. And Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence both said it yesterday in their post-game locker room. And that's going to be the message, is find a way to get back to playing consistent football.
Now, it's not out of the question that this team is, I don't want to say it's going to be 2017 because what happened at the end of that year was, all of a sudden it just took off.
Right.
Remember that 2017 team had 6 losses where we're sitting here on Monday going, well, okay, same old. They got rolled by the Titans. They lost to the Jets. They lost to the Rams out here. When every time that team had momentum early, all of a sudden they would come out and Marone's talking about one day to So I don't know that this kind of game means it's lost. Maybe they're just trying to find themselves, and maybe they're an up and down team. Right. That's still very possible for this team.
100%. All right. One more segment when we return for Jags Drive Time on a Monday morning.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
Hey Jags fans, Brian Sexton for Dreamfinders Homes. In a complex housing market, do decisions on the biggest purchase of your life stress you out? At Dreamfinders Homes, they can build the home of your dreams in one of their many communities in Northeast Florida. With a mortgage company in-house, they're here to assist you throughout the entire process. Choose from their wide range of single-family homes or townhomes from the 300,000s. Dreamfinders Homes specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. Call 904-590-2545 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
Jags fans, sign up for ESPN Plus to see Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars take on Russell Wilson and the Broncos across the pond at London's Wembley Stadium Sunday, October 30th. ESPN Plus gives you access to nonstop NFL action all season long with live games, originals, highlights, and more. After you sign up, be sure to log into your device with your ESPN account to stream on your TV and other devices. Visit ESPNplus.com/NFL for more details.
The Jaguars would like to thank JEA's frontline team for all they do to help our community thrive. Please help us recognize JEA's frontline team of the game, representing the 2,000 employees who work hard to serve you each and every day. Brian Sexton, John Oehser back here to wrap up Drive Time on a Monday morning. Ashlyn will rejoin us on Wednesday. What you got coming this week? What's Ozone Podcast?
I believe we are trying to effort. That's a radio term.
I do like it.
People.
Yeah.
Foye. Yeah, I like that. Foye Aluakon. I'm looking forward to that because he's always very insightful. And I always like to pitch the Huddle Up podcast with Bucky Brooks because
do you?
His name's on it.
Do you spend time with him when he comes into town?
Not if I don't have to. No, I do. Bucky's great.
Your honesty is refreshing. And thanks for carrying the show this morning.
Well, thanks to you as well.
John Oehser for doing what needs to be done. And to Joe and to Blake and our entire broadcast crew, that is Jaguars Drive Time on a Monday morning. We're back with you on Wednesday. Have a great day.